I had always prided myself on being someone who didn't let the little things get to her. Life in the legal world being a federal judge was demanding, stressful, and often harsh, but I managed to keep my cool. I had to. I couldn't afford to show weakness, especially not as a black woman in a field that already had me facing doubts and prejudices from the moment I entered. But that evening, what happened caught me completely off guard. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you are listening. Your support means everything. It was a Friday evening, and I had just wrapped up a long day at the courthouse. The day had been tough and emotionally exhausting case, with one of the most high-profile trials of my career. I'd been trying to keep my head clear, focusing on the case details, but by the time I stepped out of the courtroom, all I could think about was how badly I needed a break. The parking garage was just a few blocks away from the courthouse. The dim, artificial lights flickered as I walked through the nearly empty structure, my heels clicking on the concrete floor. My thoughts were on my family, the weekend I had planned to spend with them. When I noticed the voices at first, I thought it was just the usual chatter you hear from people who park in the same garage. But then, I heard one of them clearly. Man, you know what I can't stand? The way some people walk around like they own the place. Look at her, like she's too good for the rest of us. I stopped in my tracks, a sinking feeling settling in my stomach. I recognized the voices, 3 of them to men and 1 woman. They were cops. I knew it by their uniforms, by the way they stood, but I didn't know who they were. I had to keep walking. I had a lot on my mind, and I wasn't in the mood to engage with anyone. But then I heard it again, just another angry black woman, strutting around here acting like she's some queen. She thinks the world owes her everything. The comment came from the woman, and the contempt in her voice was unmistakable. I stood there, my heart thumping in my chest. The sting of their words hit me hard, harder than I was willing to admit. I could feel my blood boiling, but I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing me react. For a second, I thought about turning around, about just ignoring them and getting into my car. But something in me snapped. I couldn't just walk away. Not this time. Not when they were making assumptions about who I was, what I represented, based solely on the color of my skin. So I turned around and walked back toward them, my steps deliberate and calm. I could see them now more clearly, 2 men and a woman. All of them were in their mid-30s, maybe early 40s. The men had that cocky, laid-back posture, leaning against their patrol car, while the woman was busy checking something on her phone. None of them seemed to notice me approaching until I was almost within arm's reach. The man who had spoken first saw me first, his eyes narrowing slightly. "You need something, ma'am." His tone was as condescending as I expected. He clearly thought I was just another person who would bend under his authority. I didn't respond at first. I just stared at him. And then the woman looked up from her phone, her expression falling as she took in my gaze. "Yeah, I think we do," the second man added with a smirk. "You got a problem with something we said?" I took a deep breath and stepped closer, making sure my voice carried. "It seems to me that you have a problem with people you don't even know. You think it's funny to mock someone based on their race." The woman laughed, a harsh, dismissive sound that only fueled my anger. "Oh, come on," she said, rolling her eyes. "You're overreacting. It was just a joke." I let the silence hang in the air, not breaking eye contact with her. "I'm not overreacting. You just don't get it, do you?" The second man leaned against the hood of the patrol car, arms crossed. "What's your deal, lady? You gonna make a scene over this?" I could feel the heat rising in my chest, but I wasn't about to back down. "What I'm going to do," I said slowly, "is make sure you understand the gravity of what you just said. Because whether you like it or not, What you said matters. And you need to learn that your words have consequences. Just then, the woman cop seemed to recognize something, her eyes widening slightly. Wait, you're Judge Carter, aren't you? I paused, the realization hitting me hard. I wasn't sure what to make of the way she said it. It wasn't disbelief, but a sudden, cold recognition. That's right, I said, standing taller. I'm Judge Carter, and you just disrespected me, and anyone who looks like me. You think you can mock me, make assumptions about my worth, and walk away with no consequences. The air seemed to freeze between us. The tension thickened, the sounds of the parking garage echoing as if everything around us had fallen silent. They all stared at me, eyes wide with shock. For a brief moment, I could almost see the gears turning in their heads, realizing they had just made a huge mistake. The man who had mocked me first cleared his throat, his face suddenly flushing. I didn't, he started, his voice trailing off. He looked like he was searching for the right words, but there were none. The woman cop started to stutter. We didn't know. Of course you didn't, I said. But now you do, and now you have to live with that. The next time you decide to speak to someone, especially someone you don't know, you'd better think before you open your mouth. I turned to leave, but before I could take another step, I heard the second man speak again, his tone softer. I'm really sorry. We didn't mean to offend you, Judge Carter. I didn't look back as I walked away, but I could hear the awkward apologies behind me. They didn't feel sincere, but maybe they would learn. Maybe the next time they saw someone, they'd hesitate before they assumed. Maybe, just maybe, they'd think twice about the weight their words carried. As I sat in my car, the engine humming softly, I couldn't shake the feeling of anger still swirling inside me. I'd grown so used to the microaggressions, to the stares and the quiet comments people thought I didn't hear. But it was different this time. This wasn't a simple case of ignorance. This was outright disrespect. I was just trying to get to my car, and these people had tried to tear me down because they thought they could. The heat of the confrontation still lingered. But this time, it was different. I hadn't felt powerless. I hadn't been afraid to stand my ground. I hadn't allowed them to make me feel small. For once, the power had been in my hands. I knew I had to let it go, to focus on the weekend ahead. I turned on the radio and let the soft music fill the car, hoping to distract myself. But it wasn't working. My thoughts kept drifting back to the looks on their faces when they realized who I was. The regret in their eyes wasn't enough to change the fact that they had done something wrong. For a moment, I wondered if they even cared. Did they truly understand the weight of their words, the impact they had on me as a person, on the people like me who fought every day to be treated with dignity? Or was this just another instance of them getting caught and having to apologize because they had no choice? I pulled into my driveway and sat there for a moment, the car idling. My mind kept returning to the conversation, replaying the events in my head like a loop. But this time, I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. I was thinking. I was thinking about how this could be a teaching moment. How many times had I let moments like this slide? How many times had I brushed off discrimination because I didn't want to make a scene? The answer was too many. Asterisk that night, I had a long conversation with my sister, Angela. I told her everything about the cops, their words, the confrontation. She listened intently, but I could hear the tension in her voice as she responded. You did the right thing, but do you really think they'll learn anything from it? Do you think they'll change their views just because they know who you are? Her question stung, but it was valid. I had been thinking the same thing. Maybe not today, I said, my voice reflecting the uncertainty I felt. But I don't want to be silent anymore. I want to make sure that people, especially people in positions of power, know that their actions have consequences. I want to stand up, even when it's uncomfortable. I want to be the one who challenges them, not the one who lets it slide," she sighed. "I get that. I worrying about you. The more you push, the more they push back. And not everyone's going to be as understanding as those cops were." "I know," I said, a bitter edge to my words. "But I can't keep pretending that things are okay when they're not. I can't keep letting racism slide just because I'm tired or because it's easier. Sometimes I need to be the one to make a stand." And that was the moment I realized something important. This wasn't just about one interaction with a few ignorant cops. This was about every instance where we, as black people, were forced to choose between silence or standing up for our dignity. I wasn't going to be silent anymore.